Mr. Prime Minister, we want to ask you some hard questions that keep coming up in the international media. And first off, your critics claim that the war is your fault, that you brought it on Israel because of your judicial reform program and the mass refusal to serve in the IDF that followed. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's completely bogus. I mean, first of all, I said at the time of the judicial reform, I said to our enemies, don't mistake our internal democratic debate. At the day of reckoning, if we are attacked, we shall all be there, left and right. And that's exactly what happened.
The former security chiefs, Ronen Bar from the Shin Bet and Herzl Levy, who was the chief of staff of the IDF, said they warned you of the impending war in July 2023, and you ignored their warnings. What do you say to that?
It's exactly the opposite. I mean, these are recorded conversations with the entire cabinet. In fact, what they said is the opposite. They said there's not going to be any war in Gaza. Hamas is deterred. Hamas just wants workers. They want economic benefits. There's no danger of an impending attack from Hamas. And they said it again and again and again. They convinced the government not to worry about it. And let me tell you another thing that's shocking. The attack began 6:29 Saturday morning. 6.5 hours earlier, at midnight, we were getting a lot of intel signs that an attack is being hatched. They didn't call me. They didn't wake up the commander-in-chief. Because let me tell you, if I'd received a call, I would have acted differently. And that didn't happen. So it's completely opposite of what these security chiefs who are no longer with us are saying.
Can you talk about the Walls of Jericho plan? Was the Hamas plan that Israel received already in April 2022? Did you ever see it?
No, we never saw it. And I'll tell you something else. It completely rebuts the argument that it was the judicial reform that prompted Hamas to do the attack. Why? Because it was hatched by Hamas in 2022 when a leftist government was in power. It had nothing to do with the judicial reform. And as I said, it didn't make its way up through the ranks, not to me, not to the cabinet, because it basically described exactly what Hamas was going to do. It was a treasure house of intelligence information that was buried. Why was it buried? Because these guys were working on a fixed idea, which they presented to the cabinet. Hamas is deterred, and even if we got this incredible piece of information, that Hamas is planning this surprise attack, this massacre, they don't really mean it. They want goodies, they want benefits, they're not going to attack us. So the people who are saying that the plan to attack us was a result of the judicial reform are lying.
Your critics accuse you of being a bystander in the war, taking credit for decisions made by your security chiefs in relation to Israel's strategic achievements. How do you respond?
Well, these are false allegations made by bystanders. In fact, all the key decisions in the war, one, first to attack Hamas and keep Hezbollah at bay, not to have two fronts, I made in the beginning of the war. Second, to attack Rafah, the stronghold in the south, which had the Philadelphia corridor, through which Hamas smuggled things. I did it against the advice of some of these former officials. And by the way, against an American embargo by the previous administration. Third, the beeper attack. They had reservations. They said, we have to tell the Americans in advance, the Biden administration. I said, no, we're going through with it. Fourth, the elimination of Nasrallah. Okay, same reservation. I put that to the side. I said, we're doing it. We're not telling anyone. Fifth, the attack on Iran, something that I've been leading for the last 40 years and basically decided 6 months earlier. That's it. We're going through. There were many questions, many reservations, some of them legitimate. You never know how these things turned out. But in all the key decisions of the war, there are a few more, I led them. They followed. I'm glad they did.
They say that you let politics dictate your position on hostage deals.
That's ridiculous. In fact, I made hostage deals against my political partners in the coalition. Some of them voted against it and even bolted the government. Didn't faze me. I said, this is the right thing to do a good deal. But to do a bad deal, as some of these anonymous sources in the press are saying, that would have been totally irresponsible, because that would be a deal in which we would leave Gaza, allow Hamas to rearm, allow it to, as they vow, attack us again and again and again. No sane government would do it. I certainly didn't do it. And the results speak for themselves, because so far, we've released 205 out of 255 hostages. 148 of them are alive. We still have 50 to go. 20 are alive, 30 are deceased. I intend to get all of them. But let me tell you, the most senior former official in our security apparatus said on the first or second day of the war, he said, we have to get used to the idea. We're not going to see any of these hostages alive. Well, I thought otherwise. I thought that the forceful application of military pressure and diplomatic pressure would secure their release, and I intend to complete that plan. That's what I'm committed to. So these people are basically speaking nonsense. You can sell it through briefings to credulous people in the American and foreign press, but the people here know the truth.
You're criticized for being beholden to the right-wing flank of your coalition, that you wouldn't even discuss the Biden administration's day-after plan for Gaza after Hamas that involved the Palestinian Authority in charge of Gaza because you were afraid of your coalition's survival. Is that true?
No, it's another falsehood. It's not my personal political survival that I'm concerned with, but with my country's survival and its future, because I've committed my life to securing the future of the one and only Jewish state. The idea that after we defeat Hamas, we'll put in there the Palestinian Authority that teaches its children that Israel has to be destroyed, that sets up kindergarten suicide camps, that names the squares for mass killers of Jews, that pays Palestinian prisoners, their families, based on the number of Jews they slay. It's called pay for slay. The more Jews you murder, the more you get paid. These people are going to be put in charge of Gaza. We'll have a repeat again and again and again. No, I want a real future for Gaza, for Gazans, for Israel. It has to be governed by people who do not seek the destruction of Israel and want to live in peace with us. That's what drives my decisions. And let me tell you something else. If you ask after the Gaza massacre, if you ask the Israeli public, do you want a Palestinian state? You're going to get incredible numbers. Like 80%. We had a vote in the Knesset on a Palestinian state. Out of 120, 99 voted against. This is exactly what you see in the polls. Why is that? Because they had a Palestinian state. It's a Hamas Palestinian state in Gaza. It was merely a front position for Iran to try to annihilate Israel. So people are not going to go that route anymore. We'll have to have a solution that allows the Palestinians to govern themselves if they don't seek the destruction of Israel, and allows Israel to keep the powers that are necessary to assure our security. That's my plan.
Okay, so Prime Minister, what is your end game?
It's called victory, victory, victory. And let me tell you one other thing. President Trump and I share. It's a doctrine called peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. That's what's going to happen.